Hello everyone, in today's video I'll be showing you how to use Datastore and how to make a Datastore. So Datastores can save values for players, or not even a player, it could be something else. But it could store like cash or wins, and it can be pretty confusing if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't have the right help. So I'm going to try and make this as easy as possible to understand. So first off, most important thing to make it work is in game settings and security, you have to make sure you have enabled studio access to API services. If you do not have this enabled, Datastores will not work, as it says here. Enable studio access to game services such as Datastores. So when you make a Datastore, you should always put it inside server script service inside a server side script. So we're going to do, I'm just going to name it Datastore for now. And we're going to get Datastore service. So we're going to do game get service Datastore service. We're going to create a new variable for Datastore. So Datastore service get Datastore. Okay, so now we're setting a variable equal to a Datastore, which holds all of the data for players. Let's say we're going to make it store wins and cash. So right here is the key, basically. This is the name of the Datastore. So whenever you want to reset all data in the game, you can just change this to something else. So right now, I'm just going to set it to test_01. So pretend tons of players played this game and they all got 50 cash. If I change this to number 2, it would reset them all to 0. All of them to 0. So basically, whenever you change this to something else, it will reset the data. This is the key that holds the data. So if you went back like 2 years later, because you had data saved on test01 and put it in, it would reload that data. So just make sure this is something unique and you can change it whenever you want. Just make sure you know that it resets everybody's data. So that's all we need to do for that. And we're also going to get the players. There we go. Okay, so when the player joins, we want to create a leader stat for them. You do players.player added, connect, function, and then the player. We're also going to do this for when the player has left, which is player removing, connect, function, player. Okay, so now this will fire when the player joins. What you want to do is, if you guys don't know, if you create a folder called leader stats inside the player, it will show up in the tab menu. So we're going to do local leader stats is equal to instance.new folder leader stats.name. You have to make sure it's leader stats or else it won't work. And you also have to make sure you parent it to the player. Now you see, if we join the game, you'll see your tab menu, but you won't see anything. If you look inside players here, you'll see your folder, but no wins or cash or anything shows up. So you're going to do is you're going to put in the name of the wins or cash, whatever. It could be coins. We're going to do wins for now. So local wins equals instance.new int value. Wins.name is equal to wins. And wins.parent is equal to the leader stats. So we're parenting it to the folder. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to copy and paste this. I'll name another one cash. There we go. Both of them parented to the leader stats. So you see, if I join now, I have wins and cash. You've probably seen this in many games before. Literally almost every game uses it. You can see if we change this to 5, it updates on here. But since we're changing it on the client side, it won't save server side. So it says 5 here. But if I go into the server and look at my cache, it's not 5. That's because client is different from the server, and client won't update stuff on the server. Okay. So now what we want to do is come up with a special key for the player. So basically, this is the player's data. So if you want to make it unique, you should be thinking, oh, I'll just make the key the player's name because that's unique to every player. But then you gotta think about this. What if a player changes his name? It'll just be gone, right? It's disappeared. His data is gone. So you're going to player.user ID, because this is always the same. Your account has a set user ID, never changes unless, I think you get banned, it might change, but that's very unlikely. So what we're going to do is player.user ID ... and then dash, let's say, data. So now this is the player's user ID dash data. So that's our key. And we'll create another variable called data. So now if we try to get the data and they didn't have any, it would just throw an error. So we want to wrap it inside a pcall. So do local success error message equals pcall function. And then what we're going to do is, if it was a success, then print data was a success. Else, we're going to warn the error message. So if it fails to get the data, it will tell us the error message. So now we're going to make this we're not going to make this too advanced. Maybe in another video, we're not going to have tries or anything. So what we're going to do is data is equal to the data store, which is a variable that we made up here. So it gets the data store for this test01 data store. And then what we're going to do is get async. So get async will pull data from the data store for a certain key. So we're going to get player's data, which is key. So we'll get player.userid-data. So you could copy me if you want with this. This doesn't have to mean anything. This dash data doesn't mean anything at all. It could just be like that or something. It doesn't mean anything. The key is just so you can separate the player ID and the data. So what we're going to do is get the key for the player. And what we're going to do is if there was data, actually we'll put this inside this success. So if it was a success, then if there's actually data, so if it's their first time playing, it will still be a success, but the data will be equal to a nil. So we're going to do else if, not else, we could just do else. So we're going to do, so this right here is first time player. So what we can do is just set the values equal to 0 because it's their first time. We also print player is a first time player. And next we can just print player.displayName is a returning player. So if they're returning player, that means they'll have data, and data won't be equal to nil. So when you save your data, you're going to save it in a table, okay? This is the best way to save your data. So what you're going to do is cache.value, number.value, since it's an int value. It's not like a variable or anything really. It's not a stored number like that. It's an actual int value, so you need to do .value. So cache.value is equal to data. So if you do data, then we don't have any data. We didn't set data to anything. So we need to do that. We need to actually set data to something. We haven't set the data to anything in this script. So when the players are leaving, what we're going to do is local key. So this key needs to be the same as this key up here. So basically imagine this. If you save the key right here with player.userd and just player.userd, not this data, then when you try to load it in with that key, since you set it equal to this key right here, this is a whole entire different key. It won't find any data. So you got to make sure the two keys are the same. What we're going to do is local data. This is a table. So what you're going to do is data can be anything. So data, we want the data to be our player's values. So what we're going to do is cache is equal to the player, their leader stats, and then it was called cache. Like that. So basically, inside the data table, we have a key value pair, and it's named cache, and it's equal to the player's cache value. We're going to do the same for wins. Like that. So you could add more. Pretend you have coins. You could do coins, and then you do player.leaderstats.coins if you're saving it coins. You just copy and paste this and name it coins. So now we have our data, and data is equal to cache, which is equal to the player's cache, and wins, which is equal to the player's wins. So now we're going to do another local. We're going to call another pcall. Pcall function. So if it was a success, then we're going to print data was saved. Else print data was not saved. And then we're going to warn the error message. So what we're going to do is for the data store, set async. This is basically set data. See how get async is get data basically? Set async is set data. So we're going to put in the key. So this is what you're saving the key to. So remember, this key, you're getting this key. Then you're saving to this key. And then next is the data you want to save. So you could just save the cache, but then you're like, I need to save the wins too. So that's why we put it inside a table. We're going to save the data table, which contains this stuff. Okay, so now when we join, the data will be equal to a table which stores the cache and the wins. So we just set the cache.value equal to the data.cache, and the wins dot value equal to the data dot wins. This makes sense. You're getting from the table the cash and the wins. So if they weren't a first time player, then I'll just set it equal to 0. So this should be it. I don't think I forgot anything, but we can just publish. And what we're going to do is click play. So you can see here, it says data was a success. So we got data, no errors or anything. Lucky Echo is a first time player. I am a first time player. I just joined. This is my first time playing with this data store, or key at least. So what I'm going to do is make sure you go to the server. Remember, if you change something on the client, the server won't detect it. It's only on your computer. So go to the server by clicking this button here and make sure it says server. And then you're going to go to your player and you can try changing the cash to, like, let's say 500 cash and 25 wins. Now if we go back to client, you can see we have our stuff. We could spend this or something. I don't know. You can do whatever you want there. But now if we stop the game, sometimes, yeah, okay. So sometimes Roblox Studio is actually not that good and it won't detect when you're leaving all the way. But we can see, I don't think it will save this time. Yeah, okay. So I think you don't use the stop button. Anyway, we'll set it back to 525. So I don't think you can use this. Try leaving. It should say. Yeah, okay. So sometimes Roblox, for at least for me, it's pretty bad. And it's just, I mean, Roblox Studio. So none of this will happen. You won't have to worry about losing data in game. But sometimes Roblox Studio for me doesn't print out this disconnect. And I think that's because I clicked the stop button instead of actually leaving the game. But anyway, you can see here data was saved. So don't worry, guys, about losing data or data not saving. So if I join back, see data was a success. Lucky Echo is a returning player. And you see we have our stuff. So at least for me, Studio is kind of buggy. Sometimes it won't disconnect me. That means taking your player out of the players and disconnecting him from the server. I think leave works sometimes. Yeah, like see then didn't print out disconnect. Well, anyway, if you go into the actual game, we will see that it works. I'll show you that in a second. Okay, you guys can see that it actually saves my data from the Roblox Studio. That's pretty funny. But I'm in the actual game now. And if I go to the developer console and make sure I go to server, I'm going to set my leader stats and my cash value equal to, let's say, big number, 50 million. That's a pretty big number. Yep. And what we're going to do now is I'm just going to leave the game. Just to show you guys that it works, I'm going to press Alt F4 to, like, try to break it, and I'll rejoin the game. Okay, and we're in. Okay, so you see, I still have that $50 million. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope this helped you. It's a pretty simple data store, which means it doesn't have, like, tries or anything. So if for some reason the player's data was one time unable to be loaded, you can just add a kick function if you get the error message to the player and tell them to rejoin, and that will fix mostly all of your problems. But thank you guys for watching, and if you liked the video, then subscribe and comment any suggestions you have, because it would help a lot. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.